because Osbert was a heavy man. His guts spilled out like eels slithering from a raptured sack.
What's going on? Welcome to another video. Welcome to today. I got an excerpt from The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. This is a very, very good book. I should say book series, because it's not just one book. There's a whole bunch of them, especially if you're into that historical fiction kind of stuff. They are very good. Some of my favorites. But today's excerpt comes from the first book, and it's very, very early in the first book where we're being introduced to a lot of the different characters and the world that Uhtred's going to be living in. This is the first time that he's also experiencing what it's like to be around Vikings.
He argued that point drunkenly, then tried to nail the priest to the hall's timber walls a second time.
Now for me, one of the things I found really interesting and that I really enjoy about the Last Kingdom book series is that it's being told from the perspective of an older Uhtred of Bebbanburg. So these are all events that have passed, and you're getting his perspective as he's looking back on his life and he's looking back on his journey.
They killed Ayla, and they killed Osbert, and they killed my father.
So when it comes to actually voicing the excerpt, that's something to keep in mind. That this is not something that's just being read to you by a narrator. This is a story that's being told by an older Uhtred. So for me, I really wanted to capture that storytelling around a fire kind of imagery within the work itself. So as a storyteller usually does, they emphasize things, they embellish things, they add these little sounds and they bring different intensity to it. It's a different experience being told a story than having a story read to you.
And there's book here, and bread, and cheese, and ale. Tell me your name.
It can be way too easy to fall into just, I'm reading a novel out loud or I'm doing narration or whatever, and kind of fall into some of those traps where it kind of sounds like you're reading. So I really focused on bringing that storytelling element into this narration. This is an excerpt from The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. And take it easy. I'll see you in the next one.
The Danes were clever that day. They made new walls inside the city, invited our men into the streets, trapped them between the new walls, surrounded them, and killed them. They did not kill all the Northumbrian army, for even the fiercest warriors tire of slaughter, and besides, the Dane made much money from slavery. Most of the slaves taken in England were sold to farmers in the wild Northern Isles, or to Ireland, or sent back across the sea to the Danish lands. But some, I learned, were taken to the big slave markets in Francia, and a few were shipped south to a place where there was no winter, and where men with faces the color of scorched wood would pay good money for men, and even better money for young women. But they killed enough of us. They killed Ayla, and they killed Osbert, and they killed my father. Ayla and my father were fortunate, for they died in battle, swords in their hands. But Osbert was captured, and he was tortured that night as the Danes feasted in a city stinking of blood. Some of the victors guarded the walls, others celebrated in captured houses, but most gathered in the hall of Northumbria's defeated king, where Ragnar took me. I did not know why he took me there. I have expected to be killed or, at best, sold into slavery. But Ragnar made me sit with his men. He put a roasted goose leg, half a loaf of bread, and a pot of ale in front of me, then cuffed me cheerfully around the head. The other Danes ignored me at first. They were too busy getting drunk and cheering the fights that broke out once they were drunk. But the loudest cheers came when the captured Osbert was forced to fight against a young warrior who had extraordinary skill with a sword. He danced around the king, then chopped off his left hand before slitting his belly with a sweeping cut. And because Osbert was a heavy man, his guts spilled out like eels slithering from a raptured sack. Some of the Danes were weak with laughter after that. The king took a long time to die. And while he cried for relief, the Danes crucified a captured priest who had fought against them in the battle. They were intrigued and repelled by our religion. They were angry when the priest's hands pulled free of the nails, and some claimed it was impossible to kill a man that way, and they argued that point drunkenly, then tried to nail the priest to the hall's timber walls a second time, until, bored with it, one of their warriors slammed a spear into the priest's chest, crushing his ribs and mangling his heart. A handful of them turned on me once the priest was dead, and because I had worn a helmet with a gilt bronze circlet, they thought I must be a king's son. They put me in a robe, and a man climbed onto the table to piss on me. And just then, a huge voice bellowed at them to stop, and Ragnar bullied his way through the crowd. He snatched the robe from me and harangued the men, telling them I know not what. But whatever he said made them stop. And Ragnar then put an arm around my shoulders and took me to a dais at the side of the hall and gestured I should climb up to it. An old man was eating alone there. He was blind, both eyes milky white, and had a deep lined face framed by gray hair as long as Ragnar's. He heard me clamber up and asked a question, and Ragnar answered and then walked away. "You must be hungry, boy," the old man said in English. I did not answer. I was terrified of his blind eyes. "Have you vanished?" he asked. "Did the dwarves pluck you down to the underearth?" "I'm hungry," I admitted. "So you are there after all," he said. "And there's pork here, and bread, and cheese, and ale. Tell me your name." I almost said Osbert, then remembered I was Uhtred. "Uhtred," I said. "An ugly name," the old man said. "Then my son said it was to look after you, so I will. But you must look after me too. You could cut me some pork."
Okay, so Newton, I just press this button here, and your thingamajigger will do its, thingamajig? Bradley, how many times do I have to tell you? It's not a thingamajigger, it's a trans-dimensional hypersonic viewing window!